The new bearings came in, so let's see if they're the right ones. 605 or 60205 2Z or double Z. They're made by the same manufacturer as before. Yeah, let's see if they're the same size. Like roughly the same size. Let's see how they spin. Yeah, see, that's nice, and it spins freely, no noise. Nice new bearings. Well, I got to get them on here. So first thing what we're gonna do is let's get this stuff ready. This is a copper hammer, and this is a piece of scrap copper pipe. If you look at it, we'll do with the old one just for comparison. When you're putting a bearing on a shaft, you want to hit on the inner race, which is this part right here. If you're on the outer part, it could damage the bearing. If you were to put this, if you were putting a bearing in, say, like a trunnion, which would have the contact point on the outside, you'd hit on the outer race. So take a look at this pipe. It's nice and hollow in the middle, and when it sits right nice on the inner race. This is the perfect thing for driving this bearing onto the shaft. You want to use something like copper, plastic, wood, anything that's softer than steel, so that you don't damage the bearing. And you could use this. You could use like a regular hammer, but I have this copper hammer. It's good for use against copper or other soft items, so it doesn't mar the surface. So we might use this when we're putting the pulley back on later. Okay, let me get set up, and I'll show you how we're going to drive these bearings on. Okay, I got the motor set up on top of the vise just to rest it, so there's a place for the shaft to stick out the bottom, especially when we're doing the bottom bearing where I need some space to stick it down. It's a good solid platform. It's not going to go anywhere. Before I put the bearing on, I'm going to put a little bit of silicone grease on there. Silicone's good because unlike Vaseline or other oil-based, petroleum-based products, it doesn't interact with rubber and the seals in the bearing. So if anything gets in there, it's not going to cause any damage. Okay, so we got the little bit of grease there. I'm going to line up the bearing. Sits nice right there. Put the pipe on. Maybe I should bring it up a little bit so you can see it. Hammer hitting it. Let's see. Okay, good. Now we're just going to go drive this guy on. Okay. Hopefully my camera doesn't fall out from the vibration. Get my hand out of the way so you can see it. I just keep hitting it until it doesn't move anymore. That one's on there. Let's go. No need for a camera change. We'll just flip it right over. Got the other side up now. A little bit of silicone grease. Okay. And see, help if I had the bearing. Let me get it out of the package. This one's going to be slightly trickier because there's no shaft sticking out. Shouldn't be a big deal. Slide it up and give it some taps. Camera didn't like all the shaking and it fell down, so I just finish this up. That looks good. Let's check it out. Yeah, it looks nice and level. Okay. Okay, now it's important when you're putting these back together so they spin correctly. If you don't want to rewire the machine, that as you could put it in either way. So this one, the connection to the housing here, and it goes out this way, so we know this is the front where the shaft comes out, and so it's got to go in this way. But before I put it in, just to be thorough, I do have a rag here. Let's see what, there it is. We're just going to clean the inside part with some alcohol, make sure it didn't pick up any debris. That's the same reason why I got this towel down too, to prevent it from getting any dust or dirt that was on the table from getting on the armature. So just gonna clean it up, just take all the any debris off of it. Yeah, that's good. And then we can just put this back in here like this. Okay, now I'm going to take a stop recording for a second. I'm going to try to get the housings lined up. Just going to put a little bit of silicone on each of these. Not a necessary step, but it helps, you know, get everything together. This part, you got to be a little bit careful. If you look, let's see if I can get behind the camera so you can see. You notice there's a cutout right here. That's where this electrical connector needs to go through. So let me see if I can get it lined up here. What's nice about the motor, it's been sitting like this for so long, is that the wires kind of bend in exactly where it needs to be. This part is never very easy to do. Still in frame? Yeah, still in frame. Good. I'm sure the experts do this all the time or tell me there's an easier way to do this, but drop my little clip. Silicone grease also helps to hold this clip in a little bit. Well, not clip, spring. Can't tilt too much. Oh. Yeah, this is not easy. This is my least favorite part of putting a motor back together. Getting all these little pieces to line up perfectly. You know, let me start over. I got a new idea. Okay, I got a new idea here. What I'm doing is I'm just going to leave this part in the center and see how that bearing has to go into this housing down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get this part in, then put this part on top, and then put this cover on last. See how it works out. I haven't tried this before. It's a new technique. I'm sure that all of you guys have done this before and tell me, duh, that's how you're supposed to do it. I take this wood block and my copper hammer and going in a little bit. Let me try it like that. I don't recall if it has to actually go in all the way or not. Let's take a look. Let's check the side of the housing here. Wiring has to come out approximately right there. So that means this guy can turn it back. About right there. To line up with the screw hole. All right. Screw. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get the place where this comes out lined up with this line here, because there's a rod that goes through here, 4 rods that go through here to hold these. There's 1, 2, 3, the 4th one's on the other side. I'm not going to spin the motor around. Okay, so that's looks like it might be working so far. Let me see if the cover is going to go on now. Okay, looking at this. Yeah, it's looking like it's going to line up. Don't want to pinch the wire. That would definitely be a bad day. Okay, now looks pretty lined up there. Looks pretty lined up there. Let me put my, I might be able to see it on camera with my finger underneath there. Yeah, it's the wire doesn't look like it's gonna get pinched. Okay, what I'm gonna try to do now is I'm gonna try to put the rods through it to see if we could tighten it down the rest of the way. Everything's held together by these 4 rods. It's got a little flat thing on one side, which I'm going to hold with these pair of antiquated Craftsman vice grips. It's got a nut on the other side. So I think I'm going to slide a couple of these through, and then we're going to try cranking the nuts down evenly to slowly squeeze this entire assembly together. I tried putting the first rod through, and it didn't pop out the bottom, so it means we're going to have to do a little bit more squeezing first. Let's go take a look, see what we can do here. You gotta be gentle with these because it's an aluminum housing. Don't want to do too much pounding on it. Okay. Make sure things line up. Just gentle, side to side. Oh yeah, I felt some movement there. Yeah, just like when you're taking these off, yeah, you could see the, I don't know if you could see it or not, but the thread just sticking through the bottom now. Just like you're taking these off, when you're taking them apart, I didn't make a video about that part. When you're taking them apart, you kind of, after you take the screws out, you kind of go with a wood block and just bang around like this around the edges till both sides pop off. So they're not really held in there very tightly on the cover end. Let's put the rest of these rods through. Oh yeah, that's all lined up real nice now. Let's just do one last check on the wiring harness. Wiring harness looks good. Okay, now we got, give it a little roll. Okay. We got it on its side like this, and got this one sticking out, this one's sticking out, this one's kind of sticking out. That'll be okay. And this one's, it'll be okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the vice grips. Since there's no nut or anything on the end there, it's just a little tab. The easiest way to hold that is just to clip a pair of vice grips on. These are 10mm nuts. They're nylon nuts though, so they are resistant to getting taken off. To make sure the ratchet's in the moving forward position, and it is. Just gonna go until the weight of my thumb is not enough to close it. You don't want to crank it all on one side at once, because then it won't close evenly. We're gonna do this side, this side, top, bottom. And I keep going around until everything's nice and snug. Yeah, it's starting to look like a motor again now. Got the two halves back together. I plugged the connector back in. So that's ready to go right there. Look how effortlessly this is spinning. Look at that, just glides. No noise, like brand new. All the nuts are nice and tight. One way you could tell on these motors if you got it right, I mean, you should crank it down pretty tight. I mean, it's not exactly right. It's not exactly a precision thing. But if it's old, it's got rust on it. You can kind of see the spots. If you see any light spots exposed around this area, that means it's probably not down as tight as the original. So yeah, it's this is back to the same thickness as it was before. Like I said, it doesn't have to be exact. Just get the nuts tight. They're nylon nuts. They're not going to come off. The next step is to put the pulley back on. Before we do that, we have to get this. There's a little notch cut out here, and there's this little key that goes in the notch. This thing's supposed to just slide right out, but I had a really tough time getting out. I think that's also a problem of why I broke so many pulley pullers getting this pulley off the first time. I had to go with the hydraulic, so it might be a little bit challenging to get this part back in. I'm going to try to tap it back in with the brass hammer, copper hammer, and let's see if it's going to go. Line that up so you can see. Oh yeah, definitely a lot easier than coming out. All right, put that down. Put some nice silicone grease on here, good stuff. Not too much. Okay. Gonna try a new angle here. My camera keeps falling off the drill press, so let's see if we can get this pulley to go back on. Maybe put a little more silicone grease on the inside of the pulley too. All right. I'm gonna turn it so I can see it. Try to get it lined up as best as possible. Okay. Looks like it's going on. Let me check. Looks lined up. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah. We want it much smoother than it came off, I'll tell you that much. We're going to use the copper pipe again to drive it in the rest of the way. I'm just going to, I'm going to be back in a second. I got to check online. I forget if this pulley has to go down to the stop or if it has to stop at a certain point. Just be 1 second. I want to drive it on too far because then it's hard to get off. Well, I got the puller set up. I only put 2 draws on it because I don't think we're going to need that much effort this time to get it off. But the consensus online is that you generally want to get your pulley so that the outer lip is right about there. I've seen other ones where people flip the pulley around the other way and it's on the bottom. So I really wasn't able to find any data on this. So I guess I'll put it on the machine, and if it doesn't line up, I could adjust the pulley. But generally, they say that your pulley should be, the edge of this should be lined up right about here. So I'm gonna pull on it a little bit with the pulley puller and see what happens. Yeah, right about there. Just sticking up a nub. I don't think it's going to matter that much. Okay, let's get the puller off, and there's one last step, and this is done. Last step is you have to tighten up these little set screws. Take an Allen key. Just make sure that you got the, if you're working on a motor that was made in Europe like this one is, you have to use metric. If you try to use SAE Allen keys, it's going to strip out. There's one. And it's done. Just look how smooth this runs. Nice and smooth, no noise. If I had three-phase service here, I'd plug it in and show you, but maybe in a future video when I hook it back up, when I actually use this one at the laundromat, we'll do a video on motor replacement, and we'll get to see this guy in action. For right now, it's going to go into storage. Thanks for watching the video.